Okay. Well, I guess good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone had a good 4th of July weekend. I know I had a very relaxing, uneventful but relaxing 4th of the July weekend. Did y'all have a
First time ever for her to freeze.
That was a really bad time for her to freeze. Like we've been doing so good for 15 minutes. Well, I guess just to continue, did you have a good 4th of July?
I did. Got to spend it with my family, doing fireworks and some fishing. How about you?
Pretty good. It's kind of same thing as Liz, fairly uneventful. I live kind of near Canyon Lake, so we did spend a little bit of time on the water, but I'm too scared to like really get out there and stuff. But it was uneventful and good. But yeah, we're super happy to have you on this week. And if you want to start by just kind of telling us who you are, who you're with, and kind of, I don't know if you want to talk about your background at all, or just what you do day in and day out.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Jay Long. I'm a project coordinator at Texas A&M Natural Resources Institute, and I do feral pig education for landowners across the state of Texas. I originally grew up in Illinois, grew up hunting and fishing, joined the Marine Corps right out of high school. I spent just about 10 years in the Marine Corps. When I got out, I went to work for Texas Parks and Wildlife Department. And then I wanted to get a little bit more into the extension side of things and working with landowners. So I came over to Texas A&M Natural Resources Institute and have been doing that for a little over 5 years now. I think it's the best job in the world. I get to go all over the state, talk with landowners, deal with pigs. It's just really fun job.
That's awesome. So, and if we didn't preface, we're talking about feral hogs today. So, I knew that you were the guy to ask. So, I guess just a little bit, kind of breaking the surface here because I barely know where to start with it. But, what what is I guess just to start, what is some of your work with feral hogs?
Yeah, so most of my work is revolves around a clean water grant from the EPA that is administered by the Texas State Soil and Water Conservation Board. And so feral pigs, feral hogs, wild pigs, whatever you want to call them, they're all the same thing. They're a major non-point source pollution for our waterways here in the state of Texas. And so as a part of that, we go around to, specifically, we go around to the impaired waterways, but more broadly, we go anywhere in the state of Texas to do landowner education on feral pigs, why they are a problem, what we can do about them, what landowners have available to them to help manage their populations and help reduce some of that damage they're doing, not just to our water systems, but really to the entire landscape. Because when we talk about feral pigs, they really are just an enormous source of damage to the entire landscape of Texas.
What are some of the biggest like I know for me in my county we see a lot of damage like in hayfields. What are some other big is it mostly crops? Is it mostly just something else? I don't know. What do you see the most damage on?
So, agricultural damage is kind of the easiest one category for us to put a price on. Because when you start looking at other categories of natural resources, when you think about wildlife or water systems, or maybe a natural rangeland, it's hard to put a price on some of that because what a deer is worth to me might be different than what a deer is worth to you. What a quail is worth to me might be different than what a quail is worth to you. But when we look at agriculture, that's all pretty well broken down, and it's all pretty well followed by economists. And so that's the easiest one for us to put a number on. And some recent research coming out of the USDA has shown that in Texas alone, we're looking at roughly about $670 million annually in damage to the agricultural production here in the state of Texas.
That's an insane number. I know, I don't know, and I feel like in our area, in the hill country in general, we have quite a big feral hog population. But I don't know, sometimes I don't hear a lot about it. So to actually put a number on it is kind of eye-opening to me. So
Well, and
uh
then when you
but
combine $670 million with also looking at an estimated $130 million that landowners are spending annually in the state to deal with the pigs. So that's catching them, disposing of them, and fixing the damage that they did. And so those are all estimates to the best of our knowledge through the best resource we have available. But it's likely more than that. Again, like I said before, it's hard to put a number on the damage they do to our water systems or the damage they do to our wildlife. Um, that's just a little bit harder to put that number on those.
for sure. And segue, welcome back, Liz.
Hi guys, I'm so sorry. I'm glad it
It's
stayed
okay.
live. I was like, oh no, we're gonna have to start over, which not the end of the world, but
Yeah, and I was
talk
checking
about
it because I thought if you went down that the whole live would go down, but it actually stayed on. So I was like, we'll just keep going.
talk about a very inopportune power surge.
Oh no.
Oh,
Oh,
so sorry, everybody.
it's
Um,
okay. Technology happens.
I was gonna say, yeah. So yeah, y'all were talking about, I guess, the amount of money that piggies cost us every single year.
Yep.
Yes. Sounds like it's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess, Jay, okay, so I have a question though. Is if you had a magic wand and you could make pigs disappear, would you?
And
That's a good
that is the
question.
goal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they are an invasive species. They didn't
Mhm.
evolve here. Humans brought them over. Nothing has evolved to curb their population, really, besides humans.
Mhm.
And so, anytime I think about it, um, there's uh, everyone likes a lot of people like to hunt them, right? They are fun to hunt. But anytime I think about it, how many deer could I have on my place for every pig that I have? How many turkey could I have on my place for every pig that I have? How many dove could be on my place? How many quail could be on my place? How many of these native wildlife species that are also fun to hunt, that are good for our landscape, that are meant to be here, could we have on the landscape if you take a 250-pound pig off the landscape? And
So
and how do you limit that population growth? And so if I could take a magic wand and get rid of them, I would. They're, like I said, they're just, the landscape didn't evolve to have them. The wildlife didn't evolve to have them, and they just caused massive damage.
Mhm.
so they have no benefit to our ecosystem.
If you dig into the research, there is some research from coming out of Europe that points to they may have some benefit in replacing um, large ungulates that may now
Hmm.
no longer be on the landscape. Um, but really, here in the US, that's not, there's no benefit. We have the ungulates here. We're managing for those native ungulates here. Um, and all the pigs are doing is causing damage, spreading disease, and taking up. So anytime you think about, let's say you have a 100-acre piece of property, that 100-acre piece of property can support a finite amount of life. So maybe it can support 30 deer, or maybe it can support 20 cows. For every pig you put on that place, it can support less and less of those other animals without you putting something into it. And so it really comes down to what do you want your property to support?
And I think one of the things about hogs is, I mean, they're omnivores. I mean, they eat everything. So they kind of just end up, even if they just fell into strictly herbivores, it would be the amount of impact that pigs have across the landscape is not just like one class. Like it's like they're affecting what herbivores eat, but also affecting some of what your omnivores eat and your like it's just like they just kind of throw, I forget where I was going with this, but they just like they impact everything. It's not just like that one little like area of the habitat in regards to like food availability on the landscape. Though granted, people don't really want carnivores or anything on the landscape because they eat your deer and your cows and your sheep and your goats and all that fun stuff. But I guess speaking to like management, I know there's a lot of different options out there on the landscape. So what are some like really common management methods for hogs? And I guess we can kind of approach it from like going at it from like a smaller scale perspective to as you move towards like your larger property sizes, what those feasible management strategies are.
Absolutely. So in Texas, your most common management method out there for that most landowners are probably already doing is going to be hunting or shooting. Um, Unfortunately, and people get mad at me sometimes when I tell them this, um, that tends not to be a great population management method, because let's say you have 20 pigs in a field. At most, maybe you shoot 2 or 3 of those pigs before the rest of them run off. And you're unable to shoot at them either because you can't see them or it's unsafe or something's behind them. And so you're not really putting a dent in that population through that method. But it is kind of the easiest method for most landowners. It's kind of the cheapest method. Most people who have invested in some type of property, some type of ranch or farm, they probably have a firearm already. They can readily buy bullets. You can increase the effectiveness of it with some of the newer technology we have coming out, between thermal scopes, night vision scopes, suppressors, and different technology. You can increase it, but the effectiveness on actually decreasing population numbers is just not there today. That's probably the most common though we see across the state. Kind of your next most common, for landowners is going to be trapping, um, which is a great population control method when done right. Is whole sounder removal. So trapping for the whole family group sounder of pigs. The problem with trapping is that it takes a lot of work and it can be very frustrating for landowners. And so I know several landowners who it's super exciting at first, right? You build this trap and you got cameras and you have pigs coming in and you catch them and you go out there and you take care of them and bam, I've done something, I got it. And then the next group of pigs come in and they take 2 weeks before they even find the trap. And then they take 2 more weeks before they even start going in the trap. And then it's a week and a half before the whole sounder comes in the trap. And now my phone's going off at 1:30 in the morning because that's when the pigs are coming in. And it really wears down on landowners, especially when there's a million other things they have to do to take care of their property. And in Texas, more and more, we're seeing that landowners often aren't making their money off their land. So they're owning land and they're doing side jobs on their land. Maybe they're cutting hay, maybe they're running a cattle operation, something like that, but they're also working another full-time job somewhere else. And it's just one more thing added onto their plate. And so a lot of times we'll find these traps go unused or go half used. As soon as a pig or two are in the trap, they're closing them. And that can lead to pigs becoming trap smart or trap shy, where they kind of get an idea of what the trap is. They don't want to go around it. They don't want to go in it. And it just creates more, and it just builds this level of frustration for the landowner. And if I can share my screen real quick, we can look at a couple of the different types of traps. I have some pictures here. And the nice thing when I work with landowners, the nice things about traps is that they you can really work them through however works for you as a landowner. And so can everyone see that?
Yes.
Mhm.
So the kind of the first type of trap I like to talk about is your standard corral trap. It's an animal activated trap. In this case, it might be hard to see, but there's a tire here in the center of the trap. And this is a really easy setup for a landowner, right? I've gone to a dozen different properties to go help landowners out. It's part of what I do for my job is technical site visits to go help landowners if they need it. Um, and a lot of them wind up having T-posts and cattle panel left over from some fence project or some past project that we could build something that works for them. Um, you don't need a lot to make this work. Go buy the cheapest camera from Walmart, trail camera, set it up and start baiting it. Preferably, what I found is a lot of landowners are a little impatient, which I completely understand. I'm
I
a
was gonna say,
very
you say
impatient person.
landowners. I feel like that's people in general are just very
Yeah.
impatient nowadays.
Um, if you want to do this the right way, really, the way we try to teach everyone is you would take a good hard look at your property and you would find places that pigs are already using and you would start putting out bait, whether that be you put up a deer feeder or you just go there every day and put out, you know, a coffee can worth of corn on the ground with a camera up. And you check that camera every 2 or 3 days and you wait for those pigs to start coming there every single day. And then you start building the trap and you get those pigs accustomed to the fact that there's a change in their environment. Because pigs are very smart. They're one of the smartest animals we have on the landscape here in the US. And so they will notice that all of a sudden there's this big metal circle. Um, and then you get this trap going. And again, you're watching that camera and you're waiting to see when to set this trap. And this is a very good, it takes a little bit more effort because you got to go out there and bait it. You got to go out there and check the camera, but it's fairly low cost. Uh, the big issue I have with landowners on this one is because it is animal activated, there's always a chance of failure. I've seen deer set these off. I've seen one pig set it off. I've seen raccoons set it off. And I've had students build these, and I swear to you, the wind set them off. I mean, anything can happen in the wild, right? But it's a fairly easy way to get into trapping and to kind of learn the ins and outs, maybe make your mistakes without having to sink too much money into it, and also see if it's something that you're going to stick with as a landowner. And while you're at it, you're making an impact, right? If you're taking a whole sounder off your place, it's not going to stop pigs forever, but you're making an impact on your place. On the next we would go to would be your human activated traps. Now, the nice things about these are they come with cellular cameras. They send the pictures and videos to your phone. You set them off from your phone, so you're more guaranteed to catch an entire sounder because you shouldn't be setting the trap off unless it's the whole sounder's in the trap. And it just takes a little bit less effort on your part, especially if you put something like in this picture, you put a deer feeder in there so you don't have to go back to it and feed it. But it's a lot more money. You know, these traps range anywhere from $2,000 to $8,000. That's a big investment for a landowner. But I'll play this video. This is us this should be us, yeah, us actually dropping on one. I did that. This is a trap I run. Uh, I did that like an hour and a half away from the trap. I was laying in bed one night. Um, so there's no better way, if you have little ones, there's no better way to entertain little kids than Pig TV. Cast the video, the app to your TV, and kids will watch it for hours. But again, it's expensive.
Mhm.
And then
Wait, do you ever let your kids push the button? Have you ever let them push the button to set off the trap?
I have not, but only because, you know, in a state like Texas, where it's hot 10 months out of the year,
Yeah.
most of our trapping is done, you know, between 11:30 and like 3 in the morning.
So they're
And
asleep and you're not
I
gonna go wake your
refuse,
kids up.
yeah, I
I can
refuse to let my
100%
kids sleep
appreciate
that
that. You're
way.
like, I'm not waking my kid up at like 1 o'clock in the morning to go push a button.
And then the last type of kind of, and again, these are types of traps. We don't really, you know, there's a bunch of different brands that fall into these types. The last type of traps that are kind of available for landowners are continuous traps. These are usually net traps. The nice thing about these is they're fairly easy to set up. They're very easy to store. The whole thing fits in like a 57-gallon trunk you can buy from like Home Depot. And you can take it anywhere on your property, places where you'd never be able to take, you know, fence panels and stuff like that. And it allows for trapping pigs all night. So the way this works is, you know, this is set up in conditioning mode to allow the pigs to go underneath it and get used to feeling that net on the back. But when this is in trap mode, that net would be all the way to the bottom, and the pigs can root underneath it, but then they can't get out. The downside is this is still fairly expensive too. You're still looking at about $2,500 for one of these. Again, depending on the brand and the kind of bells and whistles you buy to go along with it. But for most landowners, again, depending on the size of your property and where you're located and how big of a problem pigs are for you, trapping is probably going to be one of the best ways to make a real impact on your property.
So another one, and I guess you didn't share this one because I'm guessing it's probably not maybe the best, is you have those like those box style traps, which I guess like you said, you can get like a handful in there, but you're probably not going to get the whole sounder.
You know, I've worked with a lot of landowners who have had great success with box traps, and I don't ever want to. If you have a box trap and you're willing to use it and put it to use, I 100% say use it. The issue comes down to when you're not catching the whole sounder, there's always a chance that you will make the pigs trap smart. So they'll get the idea that, hey, you know, my friends went into that trap and now I don't see my friends anymore. That doesn't mean you'll never catch them, but it could become harder and harder to catch the pigs as time goes on. So it might just mean you have to move the box trap around a little bit more. It might mean you have to camouflage it a little bit. It might mean you might need to change the bait up a little bit. The only other issue with box traps is bycatch, so catching animals other than pigs. Um, I've seen, especially things like deer. I've seen deer get caught in these, and that is always a bad day for you and for the deer.
So what's the craziest thing that you've seen caught in a box trap outside of a pig or a deer? Or heard about anyway?
Alligators and caught in a
Oh,
box trap that wasn't meant for the alligator.
What
yeah.
what kind of bait is used that would attract a hog and an alligator?
They made it with corn, so I don't know why the alligator would have gone in there. The only thing
Maybe.
I can think
Maybe it
of
looks
is,
comfy.
I just saw pictures of it. I didn't talk to really get in depth with the landowner, but uh, potentially they had maybe taken care of some pigs in there,
Oh, and
re-
it's yeah,
and so there was some smell in there.
makes
Mm.
sense.
It was on a coastal property.
That'd be a bad day. I would not know how to get carefully, I guess is the only way to get it out is just very, very carefully.
Yeah, so and there's, what we always recommend to people is you can modify these traps. It basically just consists of tying, um, I don't suggest rope because rope can always break. I usually suggest some type of wire, but tying a wire to the gate of the box trap so that you can stand a pretty good ways away from the box trap and open that gate from the outside. So when you do catch something like deer or dogs or anything, you can safely open it and let them out. Some box traps come with like the back of the box trap might be able to be opened to where it's like a lot bigger opening.
Mhm.
I know people who build box traps and they'll build them that way, or they'll build them to where the top can pop open. So there's a bunch of different ways to do that, but I always suggest having a way to be able to open that box trap in a way to where your hands aren't right there.
So you'd mentioned, baiting it, and it seems like corn's a pretty good option. I mean, I know there's like so many different like concoctions that people do or say that attracts pigs better than others. I mean, is there any truth to it, or just like good old fashioned corn is more than enough for pigs?
There's hundreds of concoctions. I've done hundreds of these talks across the state, talked to thousands of landowners, and I've heard just about everything you can think of. When you dive into the research, researchers have been looking at it for decades and they've tried a bunch of these different concoctions. And, according to them, none of them really work better than the other. What I suggest for landowner, one, I'll be honest, I'm tend to try to take the easiest route I can when I'm trapping. So I like to throw a deer feeder in my traps for two reasons. One, again, because it's easier, it saves me time and effort. I can just put that deer feeder in, fill it to the top, and don't have to worry about it. But two, um, when I know I'm going to be trapping, I can set it to go off in the middle of the night, and it keeps the pigs from trying to dig out because they have food on the ground. And so the food is keeping them occupied instead of trying to get out of the trap. Um, and so you can't run anything. You can't sour corn and run that through a deer feeder.
Mhm.
So I've always just ran straight corn. Now I have worked with property owners where corn really wasn't working for them. And so what we did was we took a look at their property and looked at what the pigs were eating. And so one that really just stands out to me in the past is a place that they grew pecans. So that was their whole property was pecan trees. And so that's what the pigs were eating on. And they didn't want the corn because they had plenty of other food.
Yeah.
And so he went out, the landowner went out and basically just got all of the kind of non-sellable crop and started putting that in the trap, and then immediately started having success with it. And so I don't think you can ever go wrong with corn. But if you're not seeing the success you want, take a look at your landscape, take a look at what the pigs might be eating on it, and try to replicate that if possible.
Were they throwing the whole like like unshelled pecans and the pigs were just eating like shell and all? Or were they kind of like shelling the pecans out before they ate the
I mean,
meat?
they
I'm
were
curious about that too.
they were just going through the orchard there and rooting it all up
Yeah.
around the trees and eating everything.
I mean, I do enjoy a good pecan, but I feel like the shell would be just a little, you know,
More
whatever.
than an
I'm not a pig
acorn.
though. I'm not a pig though, so um okay. So talked about, are there any other, I'll say, population control methods? Because we talked about shooting, trapping.
So there's, we could also get into aerial
Ooh, the
gunning.
fun stuff.
Yeah, aerial gunning is one of the funner ones. It's also it is highly effective. You're talking about the possibility of taking dozens, if not hundreds of pigs in a day off of a property. It's also very expensive. So last time I talked with a company that did this for landowners, they were quoting out 1,800, like between 1,800 and $2,200 an hour for flight time, shooters, all of that. There in the past there have been grants for certain counties um, to have wildlife services come and do this in those counties. But part of it is you have to have the right property. So the property's got to be big enough that they can safely fly. And so, if you have 25 acres or 50 acres, you're probably not going to be big enough unless you can join up with your neighbors and kind of cobble together several pieces of property to make it big enough. We also, some of the other methods that are available to landowners and legal in the state of Texas is trained dogs. Trained dogs is also going to be one of those ones that are not necessarily a population control method. Depending on who's doing it, how long you're doing it for, it can absolutely create a effect of pressuring pigs off of a property. Again, one of the things I kind of haven't touched on is we've touched on how smart pigs are. The more of these methods you do, the more you can pressure pigs out of an area. It's not permanent. They're not going to stay away forever, but they'll get the idea that you don't like them, and they will go over to your neighbor's place where maybe they're not doing anything to the pigs.
I was gonna say, how good of friends
Yeah.
with your neighbors do you have to be to start?
And then another one that I talk with, especially new landowners or small acres landowners about a lot, is snaring. And snaring is another one of the ones that's not going to be considered a population control method. You're only taking one pig at a time with snaring. There's a pretty decent risk of catching other animals with snaring, but it's super inexpensive. And you can go to just about any Murdoch's, Tractor Supply, feed store, and they already have snares made up. We have videos on our NRI YouTube page on how to set up snares, how to locate good spots to help reduce the chance of catching other animals and, uh, elevate the chance of catching a pig with snares. And it's just a great way to kind of get your toes into pig management, especially again for new landowners or small acres landowners. And also, I know I'm repeating myself here, but the more methods you employ, right? The more you're doing things on the ground to get pigs out of the area, the more success you're going to see. And then another method we can talk about is fencing. So here we kind of have two different types of fencing. Your exclusion fencing, that's going to be your mesh, your hog panels, your high fencing. That's a lot easier for small acreage properties. It's a little less expensive. If you have 5 acres, 10 acres, 20 acres, it's probably more feasible to fence that area off. It is possible to build a pig-proof fence, but it's not going to stay pig-proof forever. It's going to require upkeep and maintenance. You're going to have to drive that fence. Pigs are going to try to get through it. Coyotes are going to try to get through it. Other animals are going to try to get through it. Storms are going to happen. Trees are going to fall. Rust is going to happen. And then the other type of fence is hot wire fencing. Hot wire fencing is never going to be 100% effective. And what I usually tell landowners is hot wire fencing is going to be about as effective as it can be depending on your circumstance. And what I mean by that is, if you have a pond and your neighbor has a pond and across the road there's the river, then there might not be a huge pressure for the pigs to come to your place for water. But if you have the only water source for 100 acres, those pigs are going to try to get through that fence as much as they can because they need the water. Same thing is true for food sources. If you're growing corn or beans or anything like that, and no one else is growing anything, you have the only food source. So, hot wire fencing is definitely a less expensive form of fencing, and you can move it around. So maybe there's only one part of your property you're really concerned about protecting. But it is another method we have available to us. And then kind of the last method I'll touch on, it's the newest method available to us. It's kaput feral hog bait. So this is a toxicant that is available for purchase in the state of Texas. It is a state limited use pesticide, so you do have to have an applicator's license in order to buy it and to use it. Like I tell everyone in all of my talks, the label is the law. Please, if you think you want to use this, if you're interested in it, read the entire label. Make sure you're willing to do everything the label says before you even go and buy it. Because there are some rules and some regulations with using this product.
And there is quite a lengthy, we won't make you go into it, but there is quite a lengthy process. It's not as simple as you put it out there on the landscape and only pigs eat it. There's quite a build up to actually being able to put this out on the landscape. So there is, I'll say, a lot of work on the front end.
Oh, absolutely. You have to use a species specific feeder. It has to have it.
Are there people, does Kaput sell those feeders, or are there other companies that have the patent for those feeders?
So Kaput sells a feeder.
Okay.
So that feeder has to have a minimum of a 17-pound door. And it has to be able to be put at half stop for the conditioning phase. You do not have to buy Kaput's feeder. You can make your own. In fact, Kaput even sells a 17-pound plate that you can like bolt onto a door of like a commercial pig feeder. Um, but those are the two requirements: the 17-pound door and be able to be put at half stop. And that's supposed to be able to keep it from other animals being able to get into it. And like you were kind of referencing to, Liz, is there's a pre-baiting requirement where you're getting the pigs accustomed to coming in before you ever put the toxicant in the feeder. You're using corn or a placebo bait that Kaput makes, getting the pigs used to coming in, and then they come in. And then once you have them coming in every day eating from the feeder, um, you can start putting the placebo or the actual toxicant bait in.
Okay, so in that one, so yeah, that's definitely one of those we won't spend, like say, if y'all are interested, you can talk to Jay or go to Kaput. They got all the instructions on it. But I guess final question I guess I have is, and I'm sure you've been getting this a lot lately with things going on. I'm sure you know exactly where I'm going with this. But what about New World screwworm and pigs?
All righty.
Lee
So
has a slide for it.
I know Jay was just like, I'm just
So
waiting
prepared.
for you to ask about screwworms and pigs.
absolutely. All right. So, you know, in the US, there hasn't been a lot of research done on New World screwworms and pigs, feral pigs specifically. There has been research done on them in South America. They are a warm-blooded mammal, so they are absolutely can be a carrier of New World screwworm. Um, will New World screwworm wipe them out? Probably not. What I tell most people is, you know, they're going to be a concern for potentially being able to spread the New World screwworm. Um, and if you see pigs, if you capture pigs and you see wounds with maggots in them, if you see pigs on your trail camera that looks like they have wounds with maggots in them, you need to immediately uh, call Texas Animal Health Commission, call your local wildlife biologist or your local veterinarian, and report it so that someone can come out and actually make a actual diagnosis of it and say, yes, that is New World screwworm. And for anyone who wants more information, we have several great resources. We have screwworm.gov. They actually just made, what is it,
Oh,
screwworm.texas.edu.
oh, is that the one with the it's got the map with all the active cases? Is that the one you're
Yep,
talking about?
Texas Animal Health Commission. If you Google Texas Animal Health Commission New World Screwworm maps, they have the most up-to-date counties with the infested zones and the watch zones. AgriLife Extension has a New World Screwworm website. Um, I'll be honest, I am on the periphery of all of that work being done. Um, Again, they absolutely could be a carrier.
Mhm.
If what I would warn any landowner about is if you are actively um, managing pigs, trapping them, hunting them, any of that, um, kind of you know, kind of the historical way that has been dealt with is they're you shoot them and you let them lay.
Mhm.
Or maybe you take a couple to put in your freezer. I always clean a couple and put in my freezer. They're pretty good eating. But with what's going on right now with New World screwworm, I would seriously take the time to look at those carcasses, make sure that they don't have any wounds with maggots. Um, make sure that there's no signs of that. And if there are signs, immediately contact the appropriate authorities and get that looked at, um, just for the health of your livestock and the health of the livestock around you.
Yep, agreed. Well, there's those things I think, yeah, we'll see if pigs, they probably won't even put a dent in the pig population because we're we're not that lucky. But pigs fight all the time. So you would think at some point we will have at least one case, but I just pulled it up now. We're still sitting at 0 wildlife cases, which, wildlife are hard because they don't like to show their faces, especially when they don't feel very good.
Absolutely.
So this, I guess, this is your like quick PSA to, you know, keep an eye out of your, all your wildlife on your property is, look at
Yeah,
your drone camera
because
pictures a little bit closer than you might normally do, and, you know, maybe take an extra
Texas,
drive around.
it's important to know that New World screwworm are, um, they're they're special because they only eat on live tissue, right? But if they get far enough along in their life cycle, and let's say you trap a sounder of pigs and you kill them and you dump them, and they had New World screwworm, and they're far enough along in their life cycle, they can drop off into the soil and finish their life cycle and still become flies.
Mhm.
So I would just recommend to any landowners take the extra 5-10 minutes, inspect the carcasses, and if you even have a question about it, call your local veterinarian, call your local wildlife biologist, call Texas Animal Health Commission. They're all going to take this very seriously. None of them are going to get upset or mad at you. They'd rather come out and it be nothing than you say nothing and it be something.
Yep, 100%. Well, we're at the 1 o'clock hour. Jay, is there anything else you wanted to touch on before we wrap up?
One last thing. I'd just like to let everyone know, if you ever have any more questions or want more informations, we have our Wild Pigs website here, that has all of our publications and then all of our contact information. Please feel free to call me or email me at any time. Always happy to talk with landowners. Like I said, part of my job is doing technical site visits. Always happy to come out. It's actually my favorite part of my job.
The
I've gotten
one
to see,
time we get to get out of the office.
yeah, I've gotten to see some pretty cool ranches. And then we have our Texas A&M Natural Resources YouTube page. We try to keep that updated with new videos, to help landowners. We have everything on there from how to build traps to an overview of the warfarin intoxicant, all that stuff.
Awesome. Well, Carly, I guess, do you have any other final questions for Jay?
I do not. I did put those links in the comments if for anybody that's watching or watching later. I did put those on there. So check them out. And like Jay said, please contact any of us if you have any questions.
Hmm. Well, Jay, thanks for spending your lunch hour with us today. We
Absolutely.
greatly appreciate it. I know pigs are your life, pigs are your job. So I know you very much enjoy speaking about them. And one of these times I'm gonna shoot my own pig and I'm gonna be like, Jay, I need one of your pig recipes because I don't get to go out hunting pigs that much. So one of these
Any
days.
anytime.
Cookbook. You need to get an
Ooh,
NRI
okay.
pig cookbook.
Oh, I don't have it here right now.
Oh, you have one?
Is there one?
I cannot recommend it enough.
Oh, is it Jesse Griffith's
Yes.
cookbook? Hmm.
So Jesse Griffiths is called the Hog Book. I use it to teach students in the undergrad wildlife track. It is fantastic. Even if you've never hunted before, even if you've never cleaned an animal before, I mean, he's got pictures and diagrams. And I mean, I actually have two copies because I have one copy that I use when I teach.
Teach and
And so
one at your house.
it's got blood on it, I'm turning pages. And then I have one copy that's like my nice copy for home.
Yeah.
But it is fantastic. It breaks down different recipes for the different size of pig and the different, like a male, like a big male pig or a medium female pig. I listen, and I say that as not a Texas A&M uh,
Yeah.
employee, because we're not supposed to really, uh, you know,
But
uh,
I don't think there's
advertise,
any
but
I don't think there's anything else out there that, I mean, an entire book dedicated to just feral hogs. I think you may get one or two recipes like here or there. I know I have some books that have like a pig recipe, but they don't go into detail. So they kind of have cornered the market on it.
Yeah,
I cannot.
that's nice.
I teach students with it. I cannot recommend it enough. It is perfect whether you're a beginner or an expert. It is the best.
That sounds cool.
I'm going to have to add it to my list. I think I already had it to my list and I forgot, but I will add it again to my
It has
list.
he even has a pie recipe using pig fat.
Oh,
Okay. I was like,
Carly's like,
Pie?
I
like-
don't know how I feel about that.
it's almost as bad as pig ankle soup.
Oh, okay. Draw the line there. Well, hopefully everyone's already eaten lunch and they're not just like, that's disgusting.
Or, I mean, I don't know. I'm from deep East Texas and we did eat pig ankle soup, but pig
Oh.
pie sounds way worse to me. But big fat, that's okay. That's okay.
Pig fat's good. Pig fat's
That's good.
All right, everyone. Well, hope everyone has a fantastic Tuesday. I said it right. Carly told me last week or 2 weeks ago. I said Wednesday. I mean Tuesday. I promise y'all. I'm not trying to fast forward through the week. Hope y'all have a fantastic Tuesday, and we will see y'all down the road. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.